So we're at that time of year where FM22 is starting to wind down and we're now starting to look forward to FM23, and it got me thinking, what could Football Manager do to improve from this year's game going into next year's game? Well, I've got a list. Let's talk about it. How's it going, everybody? My name, of course, is Breezy, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very, very well. So today we're going to be talking about 5 things that I think Football Manager kind of need to improve on for FM23, coming off the back of a rather successful FM22. However, before we get into that, of course, if you are new around here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you know what? Leave a like as well. Go on, you know you want to. I'm also aware that what I'm talking about today is going to spark some sort of conversation, so comment section, let me know. Do you agree with the things I'm speaking about in today's video, or have you got your own improvements that you think Football Manager should be looking to improve in FM23? Comment down below, let me know. I'll be reading through all of them. Right, without any further delay then, let's get into this, starting off with the first thing that I think should be improved in FM23. So the first thing on my list is something that I know a lot of people have got issues with, especially this year, and that is VAR. Now, VAR is a very divisive thing, not just in Football Manager, but in real life football as well. Some people hate it, some people see it as a necessity within the game. But in terms of Football Manager, I don't mind it being in the game. I just think there are some tweaks they can add to it to make it less irritating when you're actually playing the game. We've all had it, right? A player goes through, scores a goal, then you have the referee, go to his ear and the VAR screen pops up. And more often than not this year, I find, well, I was going to say it more often than not, it ends up being a goal awarded. But there is probably a better split between disallowed goals and goals that are actually allowed. Which, of course, was one of the big complaints from FM21, where pretty much every single goal that was scored when the VAR popped up, you were guaranteed it was going to be disallowed. However, we're at the point now in FM where I feel like 80% of goals that are scored are getting checked by VAR. And I understand what some people are going to say to that. Well, in real life, most goals do get checked by VAR. And that is true. But when you're at the games and when you're watching it on telly, how often do you actually really see the goals getting checked pop up on screen with the replay? It's only really for offsides that are very, very tight and very marginal. If they think on first viewing there could be an offside, usually the check will be happening in the background and you won't actually see it. So I think I've got a way to keep VAR in FM, because I understand why VAR has to exist in FM. Of course I do. It's a football simulator game. It has to be there. There's 2 things really that I think can make VAR better from a playing experience and from a viewer experience. If you're watching someone like me or all the other content creators on YouTube or Twitch, it can make it better for you guys as well. When it's a very obvious onside goal and it's coming from a set piece or something like that, or they just want to, it's something that doesn't even need to be able to do a replay for, just have a bit of text commentary at the bottom saying, and VAR has awarded the goal after a check. You can even have, if you're playing in 3D, the animation of the referee go into his ear, but you don't need the animation of the VAR check popping up on screen every time. It can just be solved with a text animation. Obviously, if it's someone, a striker hanging on the last shoulder of the defender, and they run through, and they're not quite sure if he's made his run too early or not, then of course, I understand why the VAR thing can come up. By doing it the way I've suggested, that little screen will be less frequent and just far less time consuming. Or, alternatively, if you really hate VAR, just give us the option to skip it. This is something I've heard loads of people talk about. Just have an option in the game, or when the VAR screen pops up and there's the replay, or when it's a penalty check and he goes to the screen, just have a little button that says skip VAR. And then if it goes to, penalty not given or penalty given, you just know. So yeah, I'm not against VAR being in Football Manager, but I definitely think there are ways to improve the use of VAR in Football Manager and just make it an overall better experience for the player. So the next thing on my list, set pieces, and this is kind of a 2-pronged thing really. For me, set pieces in FM, we all know, okay, they can be very overpowered. You stick a big man on the near post or lurk at the near post, and more often than not, they will get you goals if you've got the right player in that particular position. However, for me, therein lies the problem. I don't think set pieces, I don't think there should be just a guaranteed way of setting your set pieces up the exact same way, no matter what team you're managing. As long as you've got a 6'5" player in your team with good jumping reach and good heading and good bravery, I don't think it's really beneficial for the game that just to have one method of set pieces get you goals. I think there is a way that FM can change this just to make it a little bit more fluid and a little bit more different and add more variety into how you set your set pieces up. So here then is a screen that will be familiar to a lot of you watching. This is of course the set piece UI that is in your tactics section in FM, and it is essentially looked like this for about the past 3 or 4, maybe even 5 editions of the game. And to make the most out of your set pieces, it's incredibly simple. The player we have here in my Brighton save, we have 2 of my 3 centre-backs. Claudio Scarpa, 6'5", you can see his physicals, 18 jumping reach, 17 heading, 19 bravery. And then you've got Ella Vilton, a Brazilian regen centre-back with 20 jumping reach, 16 heading. All right, he's got 10 bravery, but he's 6'8", okay? These 2 are absolute menaces from set pieces, and all we need to do, and this is what I've done in every single save that I've done this year, is have a good set piece taker, or even like a moderately good set piece taker, like we've got Luke Thomas here with 13 corners, whipping balls into the near post, so that either Scarpa or Everton can beat their man at the front post and get a goal, basically. And this is kind of my point. I feel like it's just a bit too easy. I feel like for me, I've wanted the set piece UI to be revamped in FM for a while now, and I think the best way they can do this is to essentially scrap this, just get rid of this screen here, and start afresh. And what I would like to see is essentially how we have the 2D engine. You know, we go into matches and it's the dots on the screen. Can we get something that looks like that on this screen, and you can basically have either preset routines already made up, so you can go here and there'll be a bunch of presets similar to what you get in the tactics screen, and you can see how a set piece is going to look depending on how you want to set them up. You can also have the option to have runners. You can have, like, I've seen it so many times in real football. I'm a West Ham fan, in case it wasn't obvious, where we have about 3 or 4 of our big players just standing in a line in the penalty box, and they all sort of run off each other and basically cause havoc in the penalty area. I would love the option to have something like that in Football Manager in FM23. It'd be cool if you could even customize it yourself rather than going to one of the preset ones. Again, similar to like you do with your own tactics. And then having a 2D representation of what it may look like in the game would be really handy in terms of how you're setting this up, because this is just a bit too static, a bit too clunky. Now, I said this was a two-pronged thing. What I mean by that is I would also have something else added to FM that would basically increase your chances of set piece working and basically increase the chance of your team getting better at set pieces. And that is, and I can't believe this isn't in the game yet, a set piece coach. So if you look at my staff screen here, you can see I've just got a bunch of general coaches. Now, of course, I can go into the coach assignments and set them to look after certain units, such as attacking, defending, and stuff like that. But the fact that, especially in real life, set-piece coaches are becoming more and more prevalent among football clubs. I know there's such a big thing about Aston Villa's set-piece coach that they got in recently, who's had a big impact on how they attack and defend set-pieces. West Ham have a very similar thing with Paul Nevin. And I just find it strange that we don't have a set-piece coach in FM, and maybe they haven't figured out a way to make it work. If it was down to me, I would say that if you basically had a set-piece routine set up ready to go with the new way that I mentioned, if you don't have a good set-piece coach, they're not going to be as effective. Whereas you've got a good set piece coaching, he could give you reports. He could, like, you get all the team reports and opposition reports going into your next game. We could have a section on that shows you their weaknesses and strengths when it comes to set pieces, and then you can tailor your set pieces game to game, which basically makes it, again, it's like I said before, more variety, less sort of mechanical, I guess is the word. One-dimensional is another phrase you could use to describe it. I feel like set piece coaches to identify weaknesses and strengths in other teams, as well as a better visual representation and more variety in how you can set up your set pieces in their tactics screen. I'm hoping that's something that Football Manager are at least looking at, with maybe not even implementing into next year's game, but hopefully at least FN24. But they really should be looking to add it into Football Manager 23, in my opinion. So up next, and I think this is one that could get the comment section, you know, riled up a little bit. It's the graphics engine. And I'm not talking about the match engine here. I do think the match engine has some things it could definitely be improved on, but I think generally with each sort of edition over the last 5 years, the match engine has been getting better and better. I mean, if you don't believe me, go back and look at some YouTube videos from creators who have done stuff on FM 20, 19, and 18. But in terms of the graphics, I feel like this is the one area where Football Manager are lagging behind other games. And I've heard all the arguments. I get it. Like, a lot of people play Football Manager on laptops, and the graphical requirements on certain laptops may not meet Football Manager's requirements if they do improve the graphics. But you have a 2D engine, so, and it sucks to say if you've got a crappy laptop, well, you can't use the brand new 3D engine because it won't run as well and it might set your laptop on fire. That, at least you have a 2D engine, which means you can still play the game. It's not shutting those people out the market. For everyone else who's got fairly decent computers and laptops have definitely moved on a lot since Football Manager first introduced the 3D engine. I think now we're at a point where we should really start to expect more improvements to the way the 3D engine looks. And I've heard the other argument as well. Of course, I get it from a licensing standpoint. There's legal issues around getting certain likenesses of players. You can't have it zoomed in because you've got someone who looks like Sergio Busquets or Cristiano Ronaldo or something. I don't know why I went for Sergio Busquets. But if you had someone look like a real life player, there could be legal troubles in terms of using their likeness when you haven't got the rights to use their images. I completely understand that. But even so, look at the FIFA mobile game. Like, may not be the best example, but that is a mobile game and the graphics look so much better than what we have on Football Manager. And the final thing I've heard against it, or maybe not the final thing, but another reason I've heard against it is the amount of sort of the way your save file increases in size the longer you get into a save because of all the data that's stored into that file. Those files are going to be even bigger and take up even more space on your PC. Again, it's all stuff I do understand. And I'm not a games developer. I don't work in the industry. So I've got no idea how this would work or how Football Manager get around this particular issue, but we're in 2022 now and the game looks worse than some mobile games out there, and for me, I don't know if that's quite good enough. Also, while we're on that, stadiums a lot of the time just look the same pretty much. You can tell there's about 5, maybe 4 or 5 sort of just preset stadium packages or builds that they've got in the game that they just sort of spread across the entire thing. Look, I get it. When it's a real stadium, like if I'm doing my West Ham save, they cannot have a stadium that is identical to the London Stadium. I get that. But if I'm managing a team that starts off in the Vanarama National and I get them all the way to the Premier League and then we build a new stadium, it is very disappointing when a lot of the new stadium, it just looks like all the other stadiums. I'd like to see some personality in there, maybe just anything. For me, more customization in the stadiums just to make it look a little bit more fresh would go a long way to help with this issue as well. Now this one has been a bugbear of mine for bloody years. I am talking, of course, about international management. I'm at the point of international management now where if you're not going to do anything to it, don't bother having it in the game. And I understand the argument of, well, not many people use international management, so why would FM focus their attention to making it better? Well, I would say is that people aren't using international management because they haven't done anything to make it better over the last 5 years. So this is the West Ham save that I mentioned earlier. I am currently England manager as well as West Ham manager. I'm not in a tournament yet. We're just about to go into some qualifiers. And this, what's missing from this screen here? I have not got the ability as manager of the England team to rest any of my players from training. Furthermore, I can't do anything to do with training. There's a tactics screen, there is a staff screen, there's a national poll screen. All the screens we have on the club side, but I cannot do anything to do with training. There's not even a data hub. Like, the data hub was a cool feature added to the main game this year. Why can't I have the data hub when looking at players that I potentially might want to call up to England? Like the national, I hate to say it, the national poll screen is useless. Like, it's just every English player, and the way to filter through it is just very confusing and clunky. There's no way to differentiate which players are really the form players and which aren't. You may well have a player that's got like over a 7 average rating in his last 5 games, but like Tom Ferry, for example, he plays in under-23s for Sheffield United. I'm obviously not going to call him up. The biggest thing for me though is what I mentioned before, and the ability to, or the lack of ability to look after training and most importantly rest players. When you're in an international tournament, you have games pretty much every 3, maybe 4 days, and your players get tired and there's not enough time in between to able to get them enough recovery. And the fact you can't even do training to put recovery schedules in there makes it even more difficult. Reason being is that if I was England manager going into this upcoming Euros or World Cup or whatever it's going to be, I would pretty much need a squad that's got 2 really good world-class starting 11s, because I'd have to rotate so much after every game. I'd need 2 squads, otherwise I'd have to play a week inside against, let's say I get like Germany or Italy or France, God forbid, like the quarterfinals or something. And I've just had a difficult game in the first knockout rounds against, like, let's say, Portugal. So now all my first team players are absolutely knackered, and I've got to send my reserve players pretty much into the walls against France. It's not going to end well. The argument is there that every team will, even the AI teams will have that same problem of having tired players, but it just shouldn't be. Like, the fact I can't set up training. Does Gareth Southgate not do training for England? There'll be some people that argue he doesn't, to be honest. For me, international management is something that is never going to be popular in Football Manager until Football Manager just add these very basic improvements into it. Which brings me on to my final point on this list of things that I think FM could improve in the next edition of the game, and it is something that has been driving me up the wall for God knows how long at this point. I am, of course, talking about goalkeepers. And I said I'd be talking about animations at some point in this video. We're now at that point. Now, I am aware there are a lot of animations in the game that don't quite make sense. We've all had it before where a defender will make a slide tackle, which inevitably turns into a through ball for the opposition striker to score a very easy goal. Very annoying and something you don't really see a lot of in real life. But the number one for me are goalkeepers. Goalkeepers have been terrible for far too long now. So much so that I have been of the opinion for the last few FMs, and just through my experience of covering the FM Streamer Showdown, that I'm seeing these great goalkeepers that get drafted, the likes of Edison, Alisson, Thibaut Courtois, just making basic errors and letting goals in that they would never let in to that degree in real life. And I'm watching keepers of lesser quality make world-class saves all the time. I'm generally of the opinion that I don't think it really matters what goalkeeper you get in terms of attributes in the game anymore, because any goalkeeper you get are susceptible to making absolute howlers. Let's take this example for my West Ham save where I beat Manchester United quite comfortably, but look at what my goalkeeper does for this Lautaro Martinez goal. The shot goes at his near post, he drops to his knees and looks the other way. Now, I don't know whether this is just an animation that just occurs at the wrong time. Maybe there are instances where this animation makes sense, but it just looks rubbish. The fact he's not even looking at where the ball's going makes it so frustrating to watch, and I know so many of you have had the same issue. There are countless other examples as well, like where you've had goalkeepers just, a header comes in and he does that thing where he jumps, looks the wrong way and just flaps his arms up in the air. That looks ridiculous. And the thing that makes this so much more frustrating is I actually think Football Manager, and I give them a lot of credit here, they have made so much improvements when it comes to animations within the game. Like I said, there are still problems. I'm not saying it's flawless, but the way players move nowadays, the way players dribble, some of the skill moves you see, and the fact they're starting to implement skill moves and flair into the 3D engine, I think is fantastic, and I think it looks great. And some of the goals that I've seen scored this year, with some of the types of shots you get and some of the passes that you see, they look incredible. I just want to see a noticeable difference between a high quality goalkeeper with great attributes, not even good attributes, great attributes. I'm talking 16 and above for a lot of the goalkeeping attributes, and a mid-level, mid-table goalkeeper. I want to see a noticeable difference. If someone like Alisson or Edison are playing in the Premier League, I want to see them make world-class saves to keep Man City in games and actually be a valuable part of their team. Whereas if I've got a goalkeeper injury and I've got a 36-year-old journeyman goalkeeper, David Martin at West Ham's a perfect example, right? If I've got him in goal, I want to see a noticeable drop-off in quality. So at least I can go, well, he's just not a very good goalkeeper, and then I can live with it. But when I'm seeing goalkeepers of a certain level, in terms of their attributes, make the same mistake as that lower tier level goalkeeper, then it just, something's gone wrong there. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. And again, make sure you get in the comment section. Let me know what you would like to see fixed or improved in FM23. And also, it's been a bit negative, this video. Let's try and make it a bit more positive. What have you liked about FM22 that you would like to see continued into FM23? I'll be interested in seeing those ones as well. Thank you once again for watching. And until the next video, I have been Mbreezy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.